What is up, guys? This is QRem from the Trinity of Lift, and today I'm going to bring all of you guys my Madolche deck profile for the September 2016 format. Now then, with this new format and how it's kind of shaping up to be an ABC-ish kind of meta, I had to really rethink how I built Madolches this time around, primarily because, again, ABC Dragon Buster is such a great card this format that I really feel that you cannot play this Madolche deck in an OTK fashion anymore. Like, I really do feel like Brilliant Fusion is kind of falling off from this deck, primarily because, first of all, again, you really can't get OTKs off anymore because of just how, like, there's just so much disruption and stun in the meta now that going through an OTK combo is just really difficult to actually go through the entire thing. And also, I really didn't like how the Brilliant Fusion engine incentivized you to play a few bricky cards to make some even better combos in the deck, like i.e. Pudding Cess. So today I decided to try and go a more pure route, if that's the correct term this time. And again, it's not going to be like a 100% Madolche only deck, but you guys can kind of catch my drift, where it kind of just incentivizes you on trying to play a little bit more of a grindy game now anyway, so you can try and buy yourself time until you can make your big Tiramisu plays. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right into the deck profile, starting off with the main deck as per usual. So, the Madolche lineup is, of course, pretty much the exact same as almost all the videos. We have 3 copies of Angeli because she's the bomb. She's a +2. She's the best. Like, she's the OG +2. Like, if people think Union Hanger is a good +2, well, they haven't seen Angeli, in my opinion. So, yeah, we have 3 copies of Angeli. We have 3 copies of Magellan because we need to search out our Angeli. We have 3 copies of Hootcake because Hootcake is like our big combo piece and you need him because he's good. We have 2 copies of Messenger Auto because drawing multiple sucks and I don't want to cut him ever to 1. Like, I keep always thinking about it. Like, I don't know why, but whenever I'm building these Madolche decks, I always consider putting him down to 1 every time. But then I always end up realizing that you always do need the second one sometimes. So yeah, we have 2 copies of Messenger Auto. And this time around, I'm actually running 2 copies of Mufoi. I don't remember if I ran 2 in the last build, but I know that I usually only run 1. But the thing is, we are running Pot of Desires in this deck, and you really still need the Mufoi in your deck sometimes to make your 1-card rank 3s with Hootcake and or Angeli. So because of that, I did decide to bump up Mufoi to 2 again because we are kind of running Desires in this deck. So yeah, that'll be it for the entire Madolche lineup. Nothing too special there. Moving on to the other monsters, we of course have a speedrun engine because this engine is just so freaking amazing. Like, we have the 3 copies of Terratop and the 1 copy of Talkington Board because, again, it's just a really good starter card. Like, being able to make a 1-card Invoker turn 1 is really relevant, actually, because you essentially can open Terratop with almost any one of your other Madolche monsters, and you can make a really good board from there. So, again, in general, it's just a really good starter engine for the deck, and that is why we are running it. Finally, for the last couple of monsters, we're actually running a lot of hand traps this time around. I have 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and then 2 copies of Max C. Now, with these guys, the thing is, first of all, Max C is, of course, like almost a no-brainer at this point. Like, he's just so freaking good this format. But the thing is, I like 3 copies of Ghost Ogre in this deck because it hits Union Hanger, it hits Pendulum Scales, it hits Dragon Buster if your opponent uses it on their turn, which is, in my opinion, a really, really good application for Ghost Ogre. And in general, I really do actually feel that Ghost Ogre is arguably the better hand trap this format because Ghost Ogre just really does hit a lot of relevant threats that you just don't want to deal with. And yeah, just having the ability to just see Ghost Ogre as often as possible in this deck is pretty darn cool. And I will also say that Ghost Ogre has another cool interaction that I did decide to put into this deck, which I'll get into in a second. But yeah, that'll round us off from all of our monsters. Moving on to our spells, we of course have 1 copy of Chateau and 1 copy of Ticket. Now, I know I said with Mufoi that we are running Desires in this deck, and I know it's going to kind of seem weird that even if I'm running Desires, I'm only running 1 copy of each of these cards, but I really do feel like the spell cards are only kind of like, they're good to have cards. They're not really mandatory cards that help you win the game, although there are times when Ticket might actually do that. But like, the point is, more times than not, you don't really need the spell cards in this deck in order to really go off. Like, they're really good cards to help you out and to get even more card advantage. But outside of that, they don't immediately win you the game, as that is kind of exclusively for Tiramisu. But still, though, again, I really feel like more than 1 copy of each of these cards is kind of incorrect because you just, again, really don't want to draw them. So yeah, I still am sticking with 1 copy of each of the spells just to, I don't know, just have them, but not really rely on them, I guess you could say. Moving on to our combo fodder, we have 2 copies of Instant Fusion because, well, Norden is really cool in this deck, but I really didn't like 3 anymore. Like, the thing is with this card, like I said, you really want to try and make your hands as optimally as possible all the time now. Just again, because of how stunny and how consistent all the stun decks are now, like again, looking at ABC. So because of that, I just didn't like the third copy of Instant Fusion anymore, because you do end up drawing multiples at times. And of course, if you guys read the card, you guys will know that you cannot activate multiple Instant Fusions per turn. So because of that, I felt like 2 copies was just enough to just see it enough, but not really brick with it. So yeah, we have 2 copies of Instant Fusion. And then actually, I'm also running 1 copy of E-Telly. Like I said, we are running 3 copies of Ghost Ogre, and this is the extra interaction that I decided to put into the deck, because in my opinion, because we are running 3 copies of Ghost Ogre, excuse me, this E-Telly is actually a lot better than the third copy of Instant Fusion, because you can actually draw the E-Telly alongside an Instant Fusion and still go and do big combos, because again, E-Telly isn't another copy of Instant Fusion. So because of that, it's just another way to just tutor a level 3 from your deck for free again, just to make your rank 3 plays and make all your combos and whatnot. So again, that is going to be all for the combo fodder in our deck. Then moving on to the other spells, we of course have 3 copies of Pot of Desires, because this card is really broken, so we have to run it. Then we have 1 copy of Upstart Goblin, because I like my 39 card consistency. Then we have 2 copies of Twin Twister, specifically in here to hit Union Hanger and the traps in the ABC deck. Again, you really don't like back row and field spells and pendulum scales and whatever, so having Twin Twister in this deck is kind of a no-brainer again too, because of just how good it is, and again, especially because you can hit Union Hanger, because that card is freaking broken. So yeah, we have 2 copies of Twin Twister. Then finally, for the last spell, we have 1 copy of Book of Eclipse, just to act as essentially like another trap in the deck. Again, it's like Book of Eclipse is still like a really good disruptive spell card this format, again, because you can stop all of your opponent's big plays usually with this card, and even if you're giving them a lot of draws, you usually, if you're in a situation where you are using Eclipse, you usually can actually just kill them through the board, because then again, having their cards face down and stalling them for that turn gives you another turn to make Tiramisu. So that's, again, pretty relevant. And also another thing with Eclipse is that flipping all your cards face down is actually pretty cool, because if you flip Madolche face down, you can flip summon Madolche again and get her effects. So that's pretty cool too. So yeah, we have 1 copy of Eclipse to round off our spell lineup. Then moving on to the traps, again, similarly to the Madolche monster lineup, it's nothing too special. We have 3 copies of Solemn Strike, because this card is really good. We have 1 copy of Solemn Warning, because this card is also really good. We have 1 copy of Bottomless, because this card is pretty good. And then finally we have 1 copy of the Emptiness, because this card is pretty good also. So yeah, again, nothing too special with the traps, and that will round us off from our 40 card main deck. Alrighty, moving on to the extra deck. Again, it's kind of weird, like, when I keep saying that this deck isn't really that special outside of maybe a few certain hand trap choices and a few certain spell card choices. But really, that's kind of like how Madolches have to play. Like, a lot of the deck is going to be kind of standard-y with only a few minor differences, so that is why I am saying what I am saying. But yeah, moving on to the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Tiramisu, because no duh, this card is broken. Like, holy crap. Like, it'll be the day, seriously, it'll be the day when Tiramisu somehow gets power creeped, because for real, like, in my opinion, for a rank 4, she probably has the best effect in the game, in my opinion, just because of her removal and how it's basically like a +3 every time. And yeah, like, I'm telling you guys, I'm gonna really be ruining the day when she actually gets power creep, because I don't know how the heck Konami can power creep Tiramisu. But I mean, again, it's just saying, like, she might not ever get power creep, but still, she's freaking amazing. Like, gotta have 2 copies of Tiramisu, because no duh. Moving on, we of course have 2 copies of Levier, because we need it for combos, and then of course similarly we need 1 copy of Invoker for combos as well. Then we also have 1 copy of Castel, because it's just a good spot removal. We have 1 copy of Diamond Dyer, because similarly it's good spot removal and it kills spells and traps, so that's also another benefit. We have 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, because we don't like our opponent's alphabet monsters floating, and we don't like BAs floating either, so that's pretty cool. We have the Lightning and the Utopia, because, you know, punching over big things is pretty cool. And then finally, for the last rank 4, we have 1 copy of Rafflesia, because we are running Bottomless in this deck. So sometimes you just need that defensive rank 4 whenever you go first. So yeah, that'll be it for the rank 4s. Moving on to the other generic rank 3s, we have just 1 copy of Grampulse and then 1 copy of Totem Bird. Now, there are situations when you actually don't need the combo rank 3 from the Terror Top. So because of that, I actually did decide to stick in Totem Bird into this deck, because again, there are weird times, like, it doesn't come up too often, but there are some times when your hand is just so good where you already have Terror Top and other good cards to go with Terror Top that you don't necessarily have to commit a combo rank 3 to the Terror Top Taketeborg summon. So because of that, just having another good lockdown monster is pretty nice. And then of course Grampulse, because we don't like back row and pendulum scales. Finally, for the last 2 cards in our extra deck is just the instant fusion targets. We have 1 copy of Fusionist and 1 copy of Norden. Now, of course, Norden is like the better instant fusion target primarily, but in my testing, I actually found that fusionist came up a couple of times when you actually just do need another level 3 on board to make a rank 3. So because of that, I just decided to stick in the fusionist just for those situations where it might come up. I'm not going to say that it comes up every game, but there are certain games where it does again come up. So I just wanted to have it there for the option. So yeah, guys, that will be it for this Madolche deck profile for this September 2016 format. I honestly don't know how this deck is going to fare. Like, the only reason why I decided to try and test this deck again, too, is recently, if you guys do keep up with yugioh organization, that website that keeps up with the OCG stuff, I did actually see that there was a Speedway Madolche deck that actually topped over there, and a few of the choices in this deck were based on that list. But yeah, just want to let you guys know that basically Madolches, in my opinion, aren't going to do that well this format. Like, I know usually in the off formats where a lot of the recent good decks have gotten like hit by the ban list, Madolches usually do come out in 1 or 2 tops, like again this past format before ABCs. But again, going forward, now that we are going to go back into another established format, I really do feel like this deck is going to struggle a little bit trying to get any kind of wins here and there against the new meta. But again, like, if history does repeat itself, there will be another off format eventually where Madolches will be able to shine again. But until then, I hope this deck profile gives you guys a good idea of how to run the deck moving forward. And as always, this is QRem from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see all of you guys later. Peace out.